What's up YouTube, Annie here. In today's video, I'm gonna share all about my trip to Florence, and I'm gonna tell you the 3 things you have to see if you visit the city. But first, we gotta get there.
Okay,
Got up at 6.
we got up at 6,
It's 2.
and it's now 2 o'clock.
We landed in Bologna.
Ended up in Bologna because of the winds.
To
Took the
Italy.
train to Florence, and we made it!
Yes, you heard that right. After 3 jammed-packed days in Paris, we hopped a flight from Orly in Paris to Florence, and somehow we ended up in Bologna. 20 minutes before we were supposed to land, the pilot came on the intercom and told us that the police had blocked the runway and that the winds were really strong and the runway's really short, and so we were diverting. So sorry for the inconvenience. I think my friend Christy and I looked at each other and we were like, what did he say? Now, if you're planning to fly into Florence International Airport and you're worried about this happening to you, don't worry, the airline will provide buses to go from Bologna Airport down to Florence Airport. However, we decided to circumvent the buses and jump on the train instead. I get really carsick, so the idea of spending an hour on a bus winding through the Italian countryside didn't really excite me. And the Italian train system is phenomenal. So door to door, it took us an hour and cost €30 total. Sold. Once we arrived in Florence, the rest of our 2 days were absolutely magical. I've spent time in Venice, in Naples, and in Rome, but by far, Florence is my favorite Italian city. The city is small and completely walkable, so it's easy to get everywhere that you need to go. And like every Italian city I've ever been to, the food is so freaking good. I did not have one bad meal the entire time we were there. My only complaint is that because the city is so small and all of the sites are really close together, all of the restaurants surrounding the area tend to be a little bit touristy. And when we asked the locals where they would go, everywhere they recommended was outside of a walking distance from the city center, which is where we're staying. So again, we didn't have a bad meal, but the restaurants we dined in were a little bit more expensive and they kind of rushed us through the meal a bit more than you would typically experience in a locals only type of place in Italy. Now, food aside, because it's Italy, the food is always good. The real magic of Florence is in the artistry. This is a culture that values craftsmanship. I felt like this was a huge departure from Paris, where everything is very ornate and very gilded, but it can feel like the ornateness is a bit of a status symbol. It feels more like the art is a trophy. Whereas in Florence, it was very much about the art itself and the artists who created it. You could see this directly in the artwork, where there were incredible statues just out on the street. And you could see it in the shops, where there are fine Italian leather goods stores sprinkled in amongst luxury boutiques. This city radiates a love of beauty and of quality and craftsmanship, unlike anything I've ever experienced. Now that I've told you all about the things I loved in Florence, let's talk about the 3 things you need to make sure that you see when you visit the city. Number 1, Cattedrale di Santa Maria del Fiore, also known as the Duomo. The Duomo itself is a stunning work of art and architecture. It was started in 1296 and finished in 1436, with the famous dome being painted from 1572 to 1579 by Giorgio Vasari and Federico Zuccari. Along with the Duomo, there are 2 other buildings, the Baptistery and the Bell Tower. The Baptistery is currently under construction. They're undergoing some restorations, but you could still see many of the famous mosaics and the original Roman foundations. Now, the Duomo is a famous cathedral. Since it's a church, you can always go in for free, but the real highlight of visiting the Duomo is doing the climb up into the dome. Now, the dome climb is completely optional. It's 463 very strenuous, very claustrophobic steps, but the view of the frescoes inside the dome is one of the most spectacular things I've ever seen in my entire life. It is absolutely crazy how high up you are. If you think about standing on the church floor and you look up at the dome, and there are these spectacular colors layered upon layered, you can just see the incredible artistry so far away. And then you get up into the catwalk inside the dome and you see how huge these frescoes are. I'm not gonna lie, my brain would freak me out a little bit. You are very high up there. And yes, there are guardrails and there's plexiglass, so there's no chance you're gonna fall, but still, it's very, very high. The view from outside was spectacular. You can see the entire city of Florence just laid out at your feet. So I would say if you're physically able, you don't get too freaked out by heights or by being in tight spaces, absolutely go do the climb. One thing to note, you do have to buy tickets for all three things, the bell tower, the baptistry, and the climb. You do not need a ticket to enter the cathedral itself, but if you want to go into the other areas, you do need to purchase a ticket. They have a number of ticket packages. And if you go online, you'll see lots of tour groups that are offering guided tours or skip the line passes. You don't need these, and these can be quite a bit more expensive. I think when I looked, they were like 100 euros. You can purchase tickets directly from the cathedral. And those tickets, I think, were like 30 euro for us to do all three experiences. There's a ticket office right next to the cathedral, or you can purchase online. Now, we went in the middle of January where it was cold and raining, so we had virtually no lines, but I know in peak tourist season, that's probably gonna be quite a bit different. So that's when those skip the line tickets may be more beneficial, or at least going online and purchasing your tickets in advance. The other thing you need to know about doing the climb itself is that you have to pick a specific time to show up and do it. So you make a time reservation when you book your tickets. And they are a little bit of a stickler about this. We showed up slightly late for ours because we went to the wrong door. You have to go over to the side. Don't go to the main cathedral entrance. You go to the side. So we were, 5 to 10 minutes late, and the guard definitely gave us a little bit of a hard time, but he did let us go on and climb up to meet the rest of the group. So all in all, you can't miss the Duomo. It is the #1 site to see in Florence. The second place you have to go see is the Galleria dell'Accademia. This is the museum that has the famous David, Michelangelo's David statue, which is ginormous, by the way. Tickets to the Galleria were 12 euros, and you do have to book a time to enter. I loved this museum because it wasn't very crowded, again, due to those time slots, but you were able to learn a lot about the artists and how they did what they did. So in the Galleria, you'll see the David. You'll also see a number of sculptures as well as studies that Michelangelo was conducting on pieces of marble. So things where he was trying to figure out how he wanted a sculpture to turn out, or just unfinished sculptures. There are also a number of altarpieces that have come from churches around Italy. It was a really lovely museum, and it was a great place to learn more about the artists themselves, in addition to the art. The third place you need to go to in Florence is the Uffizi Gallery. The Uffizi Gallery cost 12 euros, and we were able to walk right up and buy a ticket. But again, we were there in off season, so if you're going in peak tourist season, you'll definitely want to purchase a ticket ahead of time. The Uffizi Gallery occupies another space designed by Vasari in the 1500s. It is an incredibly opulent gallery that is full of ancient Roman statues that came from the Medici collection. It has incredible frescoes all along the ceiling, mosaics. It's, again, incredibly opulent and just jam-packed with beautiful artwork. There were a few Da Vinci's in the Uffizi Gallery, but the thing that took my breath away was seeing Botticelli's Birth of Venus. It's one of those paintings that you see in textbooks growing up, and then you just walk in and you turn a corner, and there she is. It literally took my breath away. It was absolutely stunning. If only to see the Birth of Venus alone, go to the Uffizi Gallery. So those are the 3 sites that you have to see if you're in Florence, and I'm gonna give you a bonus. Go have a drink at the St. Regis. And you're probably like, Annie, you're just talking about all this fabulous artwork and then you want me to go to the St. Regis? Yes, go have a drink at the St. Regis. The hotel has a beautiful bar, they have an incredible menu, and it's a wonderful place to sit and relax and just soak in the culture and the experience of Florence. Something a lot of people don't realize about luxury hotels is that they often have public restaurants and public bars. So you're welcome to go in and sit and have a drink and enjoy the ambiance and the service that a luxury hotel provides without having to pay the prices of staying in that hotel. The St. Regis in Florence was spectacular, and we loved chatting with our servers who were kind enough to slip us a couple of little treats just as a thank you for coming in. Now, this is a short video on Florence. I could probably do so much more, but I hope to get back there one day, and I want to spend an entire month just exploring the countryside. So Florence, grazie mille. I can't wait to come back and spend more time exploring and soaking in the Italian culture that I love so very much. So until next time, vai a creare una vita che ami. Go create a life you love. Bye.